My name is Jacco van der Brink. As an experienced investment expert, your host at Angels and Dragons.
My name is Edwin Schaafsma. I'm a coach, investor, and entrepreneur, and it's my passion to help entrepreneurs with growth, mindset, and money.
Yes, and welcome again. We're at the show from Angels and Dragons. You guys had to wait a little longer than normally, but we have a great entrepreneur in the show, Amit from Mimo. We're so happy to have you because a company and a product that at Angels and Dragons we really like. It's about food, it's about nice food, it's about good food. And you're an entrepreneur and a former professional athlete. You're going to tell us a little bit about that as well in your pitch, I know. And we're happy with entrepreneurs like athlete because they go for the goals, they go for the gold. So very happy to have you here. Amit, how are you doing and are you ready for your pitch?
I'm good, thank you. And yes, I'm very ready to share my story.
As you know, we are sharing stories for investors that are trained in the Angels Dragons program. For people that are watching this for the first time, we have a program. You can find it on our website. And so happy to talk about that as well. But this is not where we're here. We're here for your show and for your pitch deck, of course. People that want to know more, they can get your pitch deck on our website. But we're going to talk about this later. For now, ready for your pitch?
Yeah.
All right. Then I give you the full
screen. Okay. So, hi, I'm Amit Prishkolnik. I am originally half American, half Israeli, but my English is a bit deceiving because I grew up most of my life in Israel. I made my way to the Netherlands about 5 years ago. I came here to study European food business, which is a really nice mix between food product development and food business. So understanding everything from building a supply chain to actually, bringing a product to the shelf and what that means. That's what I learned coming here to study. And I want to take you back into the reason I came here to study and developed Mimo. So Mimo is a food brand for pre-portioned, frozen, and secretly vegan cookie dough for baking delicious cookies. You can also snack on the dough raw since it's made of only plant-based ingredients and harmless for you. So I want to talk about why I came here and why Mimo, why cookie dough. So I think, like many people, my relationship with food started at quite a young age. I have grown up in a household that was very healthy. My parents were very sporty people. My dad did triathlons. My mother played tennis. And we were that kind of household that really only had water for drinks. We didn't have any sugary, fizzy drinks in the house. And we ate really healthy food. Cake was for birthdays. And I grew up with this idea of good and bad food and treating my body with a lot of respect. I did judo from the age of 6 until I was 20. So there was a very long period in there where I learned a lot about my body and a lot about food. And I connected to it from a really young age. And as I grew older and wiser, I started noticing how much food impacts our bodies. And, I was a teenager in the early 2000s where skinny was ideal beauty that all big brands were selling. And I think that messed with my mind as much as it did, I'm sure, for a lot of other people. And I paid a lot of attention, especially during that adolescence period, to what was going in my body, how it was affecting me mentally, physically, and especially being an athlete, you're very sensitive to how you feel and what you look like and how your body is responding to what you're putting inside of it. And I developed a lot of awareness. And when I was about 15, 16, I started competing internationally. So it really became a profession. I was training twice a day. I was all in. This was my whole entire life. I was so competitive and I cared so much about being the absolute best that I could be. And I used to, sleep 8 to 10 hours a night. I ate in specific hours. I was training 2 to 3 times a day. And at some point when I was 19, I was ranked 7th in Europe. I did 2 medals in European Cups. And that was, yeah, so I was number 7 in Europe for under 21, under the age of 21 when I was 19. And the following year was going to be my last year, as they call it, junior. So for that age category. And a lot of pressure was put on me. I think a lot was expected of me in that following year. And I was competing a lot, I was training a lot. And I went to a tournament in Spain, and in my second round of fights, I got injured and I dislocated my right shoulder completely. And in addition to that physical break, my heart was completely broken and shattered. I felt very, very low. That injury ruined my career, my judo career. And mentally, I was just completely devastated. I felt like someone just sucked out of the life out of me. I had no purpose anymore. And, I went back home from this tournament in Spain, and I was sitting there with my arm locked to my body, and I had to wait a long time to start rehabilitation. And while I was sitting there doing nothing for days on end, I felt like, wow, my body is just not the same as it was. I was eating food that wasn't really good for me. I was very depressed. I was just sad and alone, and I felt my body was becoming inflamed. And you know how you don't move for many days, you're just swollen and you feel slow and sluggish. And that's when I started coming back to my thoughts about food and my passion for food. And I was getting this angsty feeling of, I have to do something with purpose in my life, and I want to feel like I have a goal again, and I'm driven. And that's when I felt like, I think I want to do something in relation to food. I was trying to find all these different products that would make me feel better and that I would feel good after I ate them, and I just couldn't find any in the supermarkets. And I didn't understand why it's so difficult to find food that makes you feel good, food that's not totally bad for you. And I really had a big passion for baking as well. When I was little, I would always be the one making cakes for all my friends' birthdays and baking cookies, and I would always I was very sneaky about it. I would eat the dough raw and eat the batter, and I loved it. There's just such magic in baking. And so that was my passion for baking throughout the years, in addition to wanting it to be a bit healthier, because I always saw this as black and white, good and bad, but I never saw the gray zone. And how can you eat a cookie or a cake but not feel bad about it, indulge with pleasure and not with guilt? And so, to make a long story short, or maybe it's too late for that, I started looking into degrees about food to learn more about our systems and see how I can make a difference and find purpose in my life. And I came across this degree in the Netherlands at Aarhus University of Applied Sciences. And I applied, I got accepted, and I moved. And the more I learned about the food industry, the more I wanted to change it. I just couldn't believe how bad it was for us in so many different aspects. And the more I kept learning, the more I felt like I want to have a food brand that is proud of what it stands for, that is worthy to be eaten by people, that is worthy to be on the shelves, and send a message, stand for a message that I believe in, that food should be good, and we should be mindful of what we eat, even if it's a treat, even if it's a snack. And so for my 4th year, I got accepted to an alternative track that allowed me to start a business. I invested some money, I developed an MVP, and I started selling in a few retail shops. And slowly I got onto an online wholesaler owned by a large distribution company, and they showed mega interest in the product, and they pitched it to the largest supermarket chain in the Netherlands that was interested in listing it, which was amazing. And I never expected to get so much positive traction so quickly. But ever since that point, I started looking at upscaling the business and seeing if we can find a production company and distribute the product throughout the Netherlands and throughout Europe. And this product is successful in other markets like the UK and the US, so there's no reason for it to not work in the Netherlands. And that's a little bit of the background and how Mimo began. I truly, truly believe that frozen is the new fresh. And when you preserve something by freezing, you don't need to use all these chemical preservatives and additives to have the product be fresher for longer. And I believe that having chocolate in your product that's free of emulsifiers like soy lecithin, which is also an allergen, and sunflower lecithin enables you to reach much more people. And yeah, developing a product that is made of natural ingredients and that you give to a child, and if they look behind the box, they'll be able to read all the ingredients. That's something that I'm really proud of. So I hope you enjoyed listening to the story. And yeah, thank you so much for listening. And I hope that you find interest in the product and the idea and that you want to be a part of it.
Hi, Amit. Thank you very much for this beautiful pitch. A very personal story. It's really great to hear. And we're going to bring some VIP angels and dragons, Julia and Edwin, in this room in a few seconds. Before we do, I know investors always want to hear some things about the entrepreneur, like um, how much skin do you have in the game? Not only for money, but also like how much time did you already spend on Mimos? Can you answer that before we bring in Julia and Edwin?
Yeah, so about a year and a half. That's how long I've been developing the idea and selling the MVP for. Yeah.
Okay, great. And there is, of course, Yulia Kisimenko. Yulia, let's start off with you. Edwin will join in a second. But we always start with the lady, of course. So nice to have you here, Yulia. Did you hear the pitch? And how do you?
Yes, thank you. Actually, I was very excited. It was a very good pitch. Well, I'm curious, where can I buy them?
Soon everywhere, I hope. We just stopped selling the minimal viable product so that we have a bit of time before we launch in big retail. We're rebranding, so it's very exciting, giving the product a new look and feel, something that is really nice for the Dutch retail market and other big retail markets. Yeah.
Well, I can't wait till you start. But as you know, besides being an entrepreneur and investor, I'm also a mom. I have a 60-year-old boy who likes very unhealthy stuff. So it sounds very tempting. But I'm very curious. Did you did some research? Would kids like this? Is it sweet enough?
Yeah, so I actually wrote my thesis about the product where we questioned a lot of people that tried the product and asked them for their opinion. And a really nice fact is that a lot of kids never even notice that it's made of natural ingredients or that it's vegan. They just see it as a cookie, they eat it, they snack on it. A lot of children also really like when they're teething to snack on the dough frozen. And parents feel very comfortable giving them to the children because, yeah, it's made with heat treated flour and no eggs or dairy, so it's really low risk and it's tasty for children. So they really like it. Yeah.
And yeah, for me, vegan doesn't always mean that it's healthy. And do you use like flour in there or do you have gluten free?
Yeah, so three of the flavors have gluten in them. We use very high quality wheat flour that has been heat treated, and then we have one flavor that's also gluten free. And in my opinion, it's the best one. It has a fantastic texture with the flours we use instead of wheat. So that's really good news for everyone who is trying to avoid gluten. Yeah.
Wow, great. I'm happy about that. Also, you told in the beginning that you have, yeah, that you're almost ready for Albert Heijn. But are you really ready? Are your processes ready? Do you know how to ship? And can you make big amounts of this cookie?
Yeah, yeah. So we're working with a production company that already works for mega retailers. So we're all ready in terms of our supply chain production. We have a lovely distribution company that has been incredibly nice and generous with their time and trying to develop this project further with me. So everything is really ready, set to go.
Great, great. So yes, actually, you're waiting for investors.
Yeah.
And I'm also curious if I want to invest in you, what is your team? How are you working? Who are on board?
So the core team at the moment is myself and Sol, a lovely, I call her my marketing angel. She is a partner in this as well. And then everything else we try to outsource, because I really believe that a company at this stage is so vulnerable. I don't want to bring people in that can eventually sink the business or, prevent it from moving faster than it could. And so we outsource. If we don't like to work with someone, if it's not going very well, then we stop the work together and we can move on to work with more people that contribute to the business and help it move at the pace that we want it to move in.
Well, I love that. I'm a big fan of outsourcing. I think you should let people do what are the best in it, and you can't do all the processes. But if you're doing something all day, every day, then you are the best and you can't do it yourself. So, yeah, I'm very, very happy about this.
Yeah, thank
Yes,
you.
sounds really good. So the supply chain is there, the team is there, and who's there as well is Edwin Schaasma, and I'm going to bring him in the room right now. Edwin, it's
Wow.
also great to have you here. You've been hearing the pitch of Amit, of course,
Yes.
and you're of course ready to ask some questions to Amit as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I like your vibe. I like your also the strategy of the company. A healthy cookie. It's something we all should need, I think. If I look at the finance things, how did you came up with the valuation?
So we worked with 3 really basic academic methods to value the company. It's really difficult at this stage, always difficult to evaluate the company. But yeah, that's what we used. We came to a number that eventually was some kind of average between the 3 methods that made sense for investors and also for us. So not cutting us too short, but also something that investors can see the potential in.
And your goal is to bring it from 700,000 to 10 million, right?
Yeah, correct.
That's the big goal. Okay, and why should I invest as an investor in you or in Mimo?
Yeah, firstly, I believe tremendously in myself. I think you have to when you do something like this.
Of course.
Yeah, I move very quickly, and I believe I'm a very reliable person and entrepreneur that is honest with the goal. It's very pure in the end, to bring a product to the shelves that people are really worthy of having. And yeah, I think this product is very successful in other markets around the world. In the US, one of the fastest growing private companies is a company that does something very similar. I think everyone wants to indulge but still feel good about it. So like I said, indulging with pleasure and not with guilt, I think it's something that many, many people can relate to. So our target audience is very wide, and I think we can take this very, very far. Yeah,
and I also like your background, sports background. So you know how it is to go through difficult times and to have persistence and so nice.
Oh yeah, you need to be consistent and persistent.
Yeah. All right. What kind of investor are you searching for yourself?
Yeah, it's a difficult question, but I guess someone who firstly believes in the product as much as I do, the product and the idea. There's a big idea behind the brand as well, not just a cookie. It has good ingredients. There is a lot of thought behind the supply chain. We really consider people, planet, and animals. I think that's really important. And so people that believe in that, and also investors that are willing to open up their network and really share their experiences and be a bit hands-on. Don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. Yeah, and have a lot of fun as well.
So you're not only searching for money, but also for their knowledge or network?
Knowledge, network, motivation. Yeah.
And what's the amount they can invest in, minimum amount?
So the minimum amount now is 10,000 euros.
Okay.
To enter this fun project. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great. Thanks a lot, Edwin. Do you have one last question, or shall we give the last word to, of course, the lady, Julia Kisimenko?
Of course, the lady.
All right. Julia, of course, you're the lady, so you have always the chance to ask the last questions. Do you have any last questions?
Yeah, as I'm very excited in this project, I'm very curious. How much can I earn on it? I'm sure it's a great product, and I'm sure you will grow. But what can I get? Will you pay out like a monthly or yearly dividend, or are you planning to sell your company in a couple of years? And how much do you think I will get from it?
Good question. I think we'll save that one for the investors lunch, and more to come, more to follow.
That's great. I'll see you there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to wait for the exit strategy until the investors lunch. Great to do this, Amit. And Julia, I would thank you very much for your appearance in this show. And we see you later, of course.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Amit, that was great about the exit, about the valuation. There was many questions for people who want to learn more about this themselves, which is always good. We always say, do your own homework. We have the yearly program for investors to learn. But more important for now, if you like this show and you like Amit and you like her product, please go and get your pitch decks. Amit, if they want like small contact with you, can they reach you on LinkedIn with some questions, with information about the investors lunch?
Yeah.
How can people reach you?
You can always reach out, find me on LinkedIn, shoot me an email, give me a call. I'm very open to these kinds of contacts. And of course, needless to say, if we meet in person, I always come with cookies.
Yeah, this could be just that thing that bring people in. Great. And if you want to help Angels and Dragons, of course, please like this video and share it with people that you know that like to learn to invest or do invest in other companies. We always bring nice companies that normally you cannot invest in, or you like to invest in because it makes the world a better place, like Mimo's Cookies. For people that have been watching it, thank you very much. And please get the pitch deck. And you will see Amit and the investors at the investors lunch. Amit, of course, you're the lady, so you can have last questions. Like I always say, what would you like to say?
I thank everyone for listening. I hope you found this interesting and inspiring, maybe, and don't hesitate to reach out.